When we talk about the saddest seasons in baseball, who comes to mind? Maybe Chris Davis in 2018, where in his first 54 at-bats, he didn't get a single hit. Maybe it's Jim Levy's 1933 season, where he lost his team an extra 4 games compared to a replacement-level player, the worst wins above replacement mark in history. Or maybe the saddest season belongs to Mario Mendoza. In 1979, Mendoza spent the majority of the season in a constant battle to keep his batting average above 200. His teammates made fun of him for it, and George Brett popularized the term, the Mendoza line. Fall below the line, and you're just not that great at offense. Mendoza finished that season below his own line, and became the literal textbook definition of bad offensive performance. That's pretty sad. The space below the Mendoza line contains a lot of sad seasons. From 1979 to the creation of this video, 328 seasons have ended with a batting average under 200. But this area isn't reserved for subpar players like Mike Stenhouse. Sorry, Mike. Hall of Famers sometimes find themselves down here too. Of players with more than 65 career wins above replacement, 3 different players have had a season below the Mendoza line. Now, all of these guys were in their mid to late 30s, in the twilight of their careers, and they weren't that far below the Mendoza line. Except for one. And we've got to go deep below the Mendoza line to find it. Keep going, a little bit more. There it is. Andruw Jones has the distinction of having 2 seasons below the Mendoza line, because in 2008, at the spry age of 31, he dropped an absolute stinker of a season, and it just might be the saddest baseball season of all time. So what makes something sad? According to American psychologist Paul Ekman, one common trigger is being disappointed by an unexpected outcome. Have high expectations, and you're more likely to be sad if you don't meet them. Going into the 2008 season, expectations for Andruw Jones were pretty high. In the 3 seasons leading up to 2008, Jones was top 10 in home runs, runs batted in, wins above replacement, and on top of that was considered the best defender in the league during that span. And sure, he had come back down to reality since his 51 home run season in 2005, but he'd built a reputation as a consistent 30 home run guy, and an all-time great defensive outfielder. Going into that 2008 season, Jones was a free agent, and because of his past success, the Los Angeles Dodgers signed him to a 2-year, $36.2 million contract, giving him the second highest salary among all free agents that year, behind only Alex Rodriguez. It didn't seem like that crazy of a contract, $18 million per year, for a guy who'd been consistently giving his team an extra 3 to 8 wins in each of the last 10 seasons. Through his age 31 season, his wins above replacement was on pace with some of the best baseball players of all time. But as the rest of the pack continued their upward trajectory, Andruw Jones did not. The expectations surrounding Andruw Jones came back down to reality when he showed up to Dodger Stadium for training camp 20 pounds overweight. An optimist might say that the added weight could add some power to his swing. It didn't. He went from 51 home runs in 2005 to 41 to 26, and then in 2008, he had 3. Much like the housing bubble burst in 2008, the Andruw Jones home run bubble did too. And it wasn't just his home runs that suffered. Every single one of his offensive stats plummeted to all-time lows. The only one that went up was the percentage at which he struck out. And he struck out a lot. Of players with at least 200 at-bats that year, Jones had the 5th worst strikeout percentage, 2nd worst slugging mark, and the worst batting average. He had 58 at-bats that year with runners in scoring position, and managed just 5 hits, good for a .086 batting average. By far the worst that year, and the 2nd worst individual season of all time since the staff first became tracked. As abysmal as he was on offense, he could always hang his hat on his defense. Just kidding. The 20 pounds he added to his frame made it hard for him to move around the outfield as easily as he had in years prior. Scaling walls to rob home runs was a distant memory, and balls he'd normally get to would roll in for hits or extra bases. Here's an example. Dodgers Diamondbacks, August 2008. Chris Burke lines a ball past the shortstop into left center field. Off the bat, the announcers thought that it would be a double at most and could maybe even be limited to a single.
Now let's see if he tries for two. There he goes.
But Andruw Jones had other ideas. His lack of mobility limited him from cutting the ball off until it reached the warning track. As he trotted to the ball, Burke flew around second and made it into third pretty easily with a triple. It was Burke's only triple of that entire season, and he has Andruw Jones to thank.
1 minute we're thinking it might be two, and Manny Ramirez and Andruw Jones couldn't cut it off, either one.
Jones had become a liability on both offense and defense. So when he suffered a knee injury in May, it was almost a sigh of relief for the Dodgers to put him on the disabled list. It was the first time he'd been on the disabled list in his career. By the time he recovered from injury, Dodgers manager Joe Torre had benched Jones, and he was taken off of the playoff roster, never to be seen in a Dodgers uniform again. Unfortunately for Jones, he never recovered from that 2008 season. He played at a replacement level for the remainder of his career. It's sad to see such a talented player lose seemingly all baseball ability so quickly. And for a while, it looked like his sharp decline would keep him out of the Hall of Fame, overshadowing all of his accolades from the decade prior. But the tide is shifting. He got just 7.3% of the vote during his first year on the ballot in 2018. His candidacy barely reached the minimum threshold to even continue staying on the ballot. But as of late, he's been trending up, getting as high as 58.1% in 2023. And if he keeps this pace, he'll reach the 75% threshold necessary to be enshrined in Cooperstown. As bad as he was toward the end of his career, his first 10 years are starting to carry their weight. And when you look at what he did, you can see why.
Long drive into left field. At the track, at the wall, it is gone. Andruw Jones, his second postseason home run, and it's 2-0 Braves in the second, depending on this 3-2 pitch. Into left field, well hit, Strawberry back at the wall, another home run for Andruw Jones. A 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and all of a sudden, it's 8-0 Atlanta here in the third. Into right, well hit. Andruw Jones back at the wall. What a catch. Now they have Raines off first. Double play.